Hey, it's Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California, here today with a follow-up to the video that I did, I think, last week about is yoga bad for you? So, let me just start by saying, if you haven't watched that video, maybe go see it. And if you have watched it, you know the news. I have blown out my right shoulder in a very big way. But don't you fret. First of all, I have thousands of videos of shorts here on YouTube, and I also have hundreds of full-length classes and also discussions, including yoga philosophy discussions and master classes and workshops and student model classes, all of that stuff on my Vimeo channels. And taken in the conglomerate, this is all evergreen content. So even if I'm not going to be able to post more advanced content for a while, just know, no matter what your yoga goals, my YouTube tutorials, shorts, and more than anything, my full-length classes on Vimeos will get you to your goals, guaranteed, even if I never shoot another video in my life, which I am, and I'm fully committed to. But just know, yoga never gets old. I mean, it's already really, really old. So all of the content I have from the very first yoga video that I shot in, I think, 2011 or something, all the way till today, will all come together to get you wherever you want to go. And I will always be answering all your questions when you leave them in the comments. So there's that. Happy yogaing. Let's talk about my shoulder, not because you care about my shoulder, but I want to talk about not just injuries, but also how to move on from them, where I am with all this, where I'm heading, and how I'm planning on getting there. One thing I want to mention in my video about is yoga bad for you? Flip side, is yoga good for you? Check out the video for the answer. One thing I didn't mention about the injuries to my right shoulder is that I tore my left shoulder about 20 years ago, and it took me a year to heal it. I did not get surgery or PT. I did it on my own. I got back to, I would say, 95% of full recovery. I mean, you could see by watching my videos and all the crazy things that I do that obviously my left shoulder has not held me back. However, for those 20 years or so, since I tore my shoulder, I have been compensating majorly with my right shoulder. Not on purpose, but it's, for some reason, it's a compensation that I have never been able to rectify or resolve. So that's been a real bummer, because I've tried relentlessly, and I do know for all these years I have overcompensated with my right, which is probably a big reason why this severe injury has shown up on my right side. And also, all the details are in my other video, is yoga bad for you video. But just so you know, there was no traumatic injury. This was just a repetitive motion injury from an idiot, yeah, that's me in this scenario, who worked on an injury way too hard until it reached a crisis level. Okay, that being said, on January 13th, I got back from a 2.5-week trip to Israel, and literally that day I got a cortisone shot in my shoulder. So this colors everything, right? Because it's made a big difference. Here's the difference that it's made. My arm right now has no pain at rest. If I'm doing nothing, my right hand still is much colder than my left hand, is clearly not getting as much circulation. But there are like certain things that still hurt movement wise, but the progress is that I'm okay at rest and feeling zero pain. Now, the big question always is what happens when the shot wears off, right? The problem with getting like cortisone shots and stuff, besides the fact that you do want to minimize how many steroids you put into your body, is that you never know if your body is healing, because bodies heal, or if the shot is sort of masking the pain. And this is always sort of a risk, because you don't want to get to a point where you make the problem more severe, right, on accident, because you're not feeling what perhaps you would feel normal. Know that pain, if you don't already know, you probably know, is your body's warning system to tell you, you know, danger, danger, Will Robinson, back off, you're doing something that is not good for you. Okay, so let me give you an update, because I went to the orthopedic surgeon, and here's basically what he said. He said that the tear, I mentioned this in my other video because my other doctor said it, the tear is severe enough, particularly in my supraspinatus, that it's on an MRI, you can't even see how the tendon is connected anymore. According to him and my other doctor, there must be some strings in there holding it together, but you can't see that. The other muscles in my rotator cuff, besides the teres minor, all torn, as well as my labrum severely torn. Okay, so these are the things. Okay, what the doctor said, and I am looking for feedback for anybody who knows, or anybody who knows somebody who knows, what the doctor said is this. First of all, he's very, very confident that if I go in for surgery, it would be very, as in very successful, and I could expect like a full recovery within 6 months. Now, I know how my body recovers. Every time a doctor gives me like a timeline on when I should recover, I usually recover about 3 to 5 times faster than that. So I actually would expect significantly faster than 6 months, but that's what the doctor said. Okay, that's scary in and of itself, to tell you the truth. Okay, other things that he said also that I'm on the very young end of people who would be going in for surgery for this kind of injury. I found that interesting. I thought this would be more of like an athlete's injury, but I guess like more commonly older people tear their shoulders. Now, why is this significant? It's significant because it means that his data pool of how people recover is based on people who are significantly older than I am, and probably in significantly less optimal health. I mean, keep in mind, I've never drunk, I've never smoked, I've never taken drugs in my life. I'm a very strict vegan, have been a vegan or vegetarian since January 1992, so older than maybe many of you have even been alive. I have exercised every single day, basically, of my life. My whole life has been committed to health and wellness. I take my vitamins, my supplements, all of which is to say I have a very healthy lifestyle. And so anything the doctor tells me, I always say, okay, it will probably be better than that. And so here's why it's important. According to him, with most people who have these types of injuries, 50% of them will have worsened conditions, worsened tears within 2 to 5 years. Okay. Now, if I were going in for a surgery where they were talking about like my chances of survival and they said 50%, I'd be like, holy crap, that is not good. But when we're talking about shoulder recovery, given my history of recovery and also the sample pool, I take that 50% as way better than 50% for me personally, okay? But there is the risk. And if I get the surgery now, remember what I said, that he's very confident I will be back to full or close to full recovery within 6 months. But if it gets worse, the worse it gets, the less likely surgery is to be successful, and also the more traumatic the surgery will be. So these are things to take into account. I prefer not surgery if possible, but all other things being equal, I prefer no pain and I prefer a full recovery. So that being said, I have been in the past recommended when I tore my meniscus in my knee, and also, as I mentioned, my left shoulder years ago, that the doctors unequivocally recommended surgery, and I opted out, and both things have healed to about 95% levels. That's a very non-scientific number. I'm just telling you that I'm basically good as new in those areas. Now, what I appreciate about this doctor was that he laid out all my options and gave me no real pressure to have surgery. So I find that very, very rare in a surgeon, and I appreciated that. It also leaves some big questions ahead for me. And again, whatever your advice is, or if you know people who can give me advice, please put the comments below. So let me tell you where I am. I'll start by telling you sort of like what hurts in real life and what doesn't hurt. In the middle of the night, I generally wake up with some sort of pain in my arm, no matter how like mindful I try to be about how I turn or pull my covers or any of the things. Sometimes it's bad enough that I'm like, okay, I absolutely need surgery. And sometimes it's like, okay, this goes away in a minute or two and I'll be okay. So, that is like sleeping. In real life, the things that hurt the most are putting on a shirt or a sports bra, or putting in a ponytail, okay, which is basically the lifting the arm, in bending the elbow and rotating. Okay, these are the things that a lot of times when I'm putting on or taking off a shirt or a bra, the shooting pain is very, very sharp. Usually it goes away within a minute, sometimes not so much. And as much as I would love to walk around the world without shirts and bras, that's not super practical. So it sounds ridiculous, but it is something I need to keep in consideration. Do I want to be able to wear shirts without the chance of exacerbating the injury every single time I get dressed in the morning? Other things that are surprisingly painful is just putting my hand on my hip like this. But that's my left arm. That's a way that I would stand pretty often with my arms, but it hurts on my right side right now, or putting the arm sort of back behind me in any fashion generally does not feel great, but there are some minor workarounds. Okay, here's the other issue is I have a lot of problems in my elbow right now. I shouldn't say in my elbow. It's above and below my elbow, which my doctor thinks is referred pain, but I'm concerned that perhaps it's not just referred pain. Maybe there's something wrong with my elbow as well. I'm going to talk later about what yoga poses I think I know I won't be doing again, and that I may suggest that you think twice about doing, perhaps, not necessarily, but perhaps in your own practice, and why. I will get to that later. Now, here's what I'm doing now. Okay, so you know, and again, this isn't really about me, but it's about how I'm seeking to recover, and hopefully it helps you if you're seeking to recover from an injury as well. Here's my new practice. I am working out. I use that term lightly. Yoga is not a workout, it's a practice, but I'm using this term lightly. Right now I'm working out 6 days a week. I take off for Shabbat, which is Saturday. So I'm working out. I have to put in quotes because again, yoga is not a workout, but I mean exercising. Yoga is bigger than that, but from Sunday through Friday, okay? Now, what I am doing right now is a severely truncated yoga practice, 3 days, and then on alternate days, I'm running the Santa Monica stairs. That is, it's 189 stairs in each direction. One set being up and down. I do 18 to 22 sets each time. This is my stair hair. So that's why you don't see me in my normal braid, because I ran the stairs today. I've spoken about this before. I think that cardio, by the way, is very, very important for anyone who only practices yoga, because yoga doesn't really provide the cardiovascular benefits that you get from a hardcore cardio workout, which I recommend at least once a week. Okay, so for right now, I'm doing 3 days of yoga, 3 days on the Santa Monica stairs. Now, for anybody who's seen my full Monty or fuller Monty class on my Vimeo Yoga Superhero channel, you'll see what I basically did just about every day for about a decade, which is the hardest core practice then that you'll probably ever experience in your lifetime. And if you could do all those things, then you don't need my videos anymore, but I've yet to see anybody who can do all those things. So that being said, I have been practicing for 2 to 2.5 hours a day for at least a decade, 15 years at home. And then before that, at least an hour and a half at a yoga studio. So this has been my practice. Now I have cut my practice down to an hour and a half because I've cut out all the inversions, which, believe it or not, yes, was basically an hour of my 2.5 hour practice. So here's what's funny. So I went on ChatGPT to see, like, can I do, say, plank position? I put in my prognosis, and it said absolutely no plank position. In fact, don't do anything having to do with your arm. So spoiler alert, I'm doing a lot of plank position, and I'm doing downward facing dog, which surprises me that I can do it given my arm limitations right now, but for whatever reason it's working for me. But I am not doing any inversions. Yes, boo-hoo, that means for right now, no handstands for right now. I'll be back. Now, a lot of people have asked me about resting, okay? And in what most people are asking me is like, why don't you just keep your arm in a sling? Okay, one thing that you should know about a sling is that for me right now, if I put my arm, let's say, in a position where it's against my chest, it will provide like real relief and comfort for like a few minutes. And then holding in that position will suddenly become sharp and painful. So at this point in where I am, a sling is definitely not the solution. Now, the second thing people have asked me is why not just rest it? Well, that makes a lot of sense. So I alluded to this in the beginning of the video, but from the end of December through the first half of January, I was in Israel for 2.5 weeks, and I rested it. I rested it completely. I did nothing with my arm besides like if I had to write something or something. The thing was that when it was at complete rest, none at all, no yoga, no heavy lifting or moving or anything like that. I even got somebody to carry my my luggage for me because I'm like, must rest this arm. After 2.5 weeks, or for the whole 2.5 weeks, I have to be honest, the pain up and down my entire arm was incessant and overwhelming, to the point where, forget the fact that I couldn't stand or walk comfortably, I couldn't sit comfortably, and a lot of the time I couldn't even lie down comfortably. Here's something I know about my body that maybe you know about your body, or maybe you need to test about your body. My body is used to moving. It does not do well at rest, hard stop. Okay, so to try to heal right now before I make my decision about surgery, and I do hope that some of you will chime in or get your friends who are experts to chime in. Besides my yoga practice, highly modified, I mean, I am adapting anything that has to do with arms, including things you wouldn't even think have to do with arms, like the ab challenge, because again, this is my left arm. I can't put my arm like this, so my right arm goes across my chest, or I can't twist and take my arm to the other side straight, so I have to modify. And if you don't know my ab challenge, it's something that you should be doing every single day. And again, you can find it on my Vimeo Yoga Superhero channel. Okay. Ab challenge, super key to hardcore core. And by the way, if I reference anything here that you can't find, just contact me. I'm Shana, SHANA, at YOGAthletica, YOGAthletica.com. I reply to every email. So if you have questions, let me know. And if you have a comment about a specific YouTube video, just leave it under the YouTube video. I will always reply. Except for on the off chance that YouTube does not inform me that the comment is there, because for some reason YouTube does not always inform me. But I do stay on top of it and check many times a day for new comments. Okay. In addition to my modified yoga practice, and here's what's funny about the stairs. When I was resting, as so many people have suggested, and my arm was killing me just walking or standing or sitting, I'm like, I don't even think I'm going to be able to run the stairs anymore, even though it's all lower body, because of the rattling of my arm. But perhaps it's because of the shot, or perhaps it's because I've reintegrated movement. I have actually been 100% fine doing the stairs, and everything is working out in that department. In addition to a modified yoga practice and my cardio on alternate days, plus off on Saturday for Shabbat, I have been doing the following things. I have an infrared sauna. It's like a little wooden hut that I have in my house that is like one of the best investments I've ever made in my life, up there with my LASIK eye surgery and my yoga teacher training. So I go into the infrared sauna for an hour at a time. I know that's way longer than recommended, but while I'm in there, I'm generally trying to massage my arm also and get some things moving. Honestly, what feels also really good is just hot shower and just let it go right on my shoulder. Seems to be really healing for me. I have been getting massages from my masseur, who is like the best massage therapist on earth, and also my own like pressure points. I'm constantly pressing into the points that help me to relieve the pain, and I'm only laughing because I have like bruises from it all over my arm, because I will press so hard and so long into a spot that it starts to bruise. Okay, not necessarily like a bad thing. I just go deep. Another thing is pressure points plus movement. So find a point that releases, such as here, and then do a slow, easy movement, such as just flexion and extension, which is a great combination to start increasing mobility again. Again, these are tips for anybody who is trying to recover from a injury, particularly a severe injury, and who is contemplating but not yet decided on surgery. I'm not good about icing because I hate cold things, but obviously that is a very, very potent healer as well. I also take anti-inflammatories every day, such as curcumin. So all of these things together are sort of my protocol, and I'm trying hard to do what I can to preserve upper body strength as much as possible, given not just the limited mobility of my arm, but also that I can't do a lot that like bears or contends with a lot of weight, right? So I am pretty limited in my right side, and I try to keep things balanced, right and left. So whatever I can do, and I'll be back in my handstands as soon as possible. Another thing is that just during the day, I'm very vigilant about shoulder positioning, meaning like whenever I think about it, roll my shoulders back and down, particularly in a standing position. It's more effective, I find, than in a sitting position. So if I'm spending a long time at my computer, which unfortunately I do, I'll stand up, multiple times an hour, get the shoulders back and down, and engage my core, right? So like, this is the secret to all of yoga. It's also the secret to so much stuff for physical health. If you don't know what I'm talking about my secret to all of yoga, just Google Shana Meyerson secret to all of yoga, and you'll find my secret to all of yoga videos here on YouTube. Okay, so right now, the big question is to surgery or not to surgery. I welcome all feedback. And if not to surgery, then my second question is, do I go to physical therapy or do I do self-therapy? For a normal person, I would 100% say go to physical therapy. But for me, here's my thing. I have a lot of knowledge about the body, obviously, about how it works, about physiology, and I'm pretty good at creating my own processes for healing. Likewise, when I've gone to PT, I've gotten very bad advice and very, very often misdiagnoses that have not helped me in any way. So I'm trying to find a great PT in LA who really knows how to work with elite athletes with injuries such as mine. I think that trying to work with my own modified practice and movement protocol versus just any old PT on the street will probably be my best bet right now. That's where I'm leaning. For right now, until I make the decision, I'm just working on my own trying to heal and seeing what I could do on my own. Keep in mind, muscles do heal themselves. It's like one of the miracles of our bodies. So I'm not saying they heal all the way. It depends on the injury. But I am like working the magic. I'm really trying to use also like my mental strength to heal this shoulder and clear things up, because I'm not somebody who's easily taken down by injuries. Let's put it that way. Now, one more thing is, like, I'd be lying if I said that cutting inversions out of my practice, particularly my handstands, doesn't feel like a piece of me is sort of like dead right now, but it will be resurrected. It will be a rebuilding process, but I will rebuild it as soon as the time is appropriate. This sucks, but it's also life. And sometimes when we hurt our shoulders, it's the universe telling us, you've been carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders for too long. It's time to step back, and you have to be receptive to the messages, and sometimes you just gotta listen. Okay, as promised, I'm going to tell you the 3 main things that I will likely never add back into my practice, and why I would say to perhaps do some independent research on whether it's a good idea to keep in your practice. Now, these are all things that I have promoted, that are in all my videos, that I have loved and that I have done with ease for years. Well, the first 2 I've done with ease. The third I don't do with ease at all. So the 3 things are reverse binds, flip grips, and one arm handstands. You can guess which one I don't do very well. So the reverse bind, I think that strong internal rotation, very, very strong internal rotation and binding behind your back, may not be the best idea. For 25 years, I felt nothing. But one thing that injuries teach you is that they set off alarm bells really, really quickly as soon as you hit something that doesn't make sense for your body. And that happens to be one of them. Again, I'm not saying don't do them. I'm saying to think about them and maybe look into the physiology of them to decide if they are ideal for your body. I've loved them for more than 2 decades. I'm just for now questioning how they affected my shoulder, because again, this is a non-traumatic injury that's been caused by overuse and abuse. Okay. Flip grip. This one is I would put it like at like a 7 of probably not the best thing for your shoulder. I'm just thinking about, first of all, your shoulder is the most mobile of your joints. And I do love the yoga concept of using all the gifts that God gave you in every way possible. But I'm realizing that the combination of the weird shoulder rotation with the weird elbow rotation may be more than God intended. Okay? Even if you don't believe in God. Okay? Fill in the blank. I'm not sure nature intended that movement. Now, as a 10 out of 10, I'm going to say one arm handstands should not be in one's practice, in my estimation. I'm fairly certain that this is the actual culprit for my problems. I've been doing one hand handstands for a minimum of 10 minutes a day for at least about a decade. It's an extraordinary amount of pressure on the shoulder. It's a hyperextension in the elbow, and it's a lot of pressure on your wrist as well. It's a triple whammy that I don't think was ever a good idea, and also that yoga is meant to be about releasing your ego, and I think I just kept doing it because egotistically it just seemed cool. Cool, my friends, is not a good reason to try to master anything, okay? Practice your yoga because of the benefits that it brings to you, but I would leave cool out of that equation. So, that being said, that's sort of as comprehensive as I think, it's probably a lot more comprehensive than anybody wants. So what would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you get the surgery? Would you not? I'm asking for your opinions. I'm asking for expert opinions. If you want to forward this along, I'm open to everything. More than anything, I just want to heal. I'll be back, and I'll be back 100%. I just want to make sure I get there as safely and, quite honestly, as naturally as possible. Namaste.